What's a true Hawaiian? What is a true Hawaiian? Aloha. Tell me what's a true Hawaiian?
I'm Mililani Trask, and I'll be your hostess for this May 2016 edition of First Friday, the Unauthorized News. If you're tuning in tonight, and it is the first Friday of May 2016, you're watching a live show, give us a call. Our volunteers are waiting. The number is 834-2886. If you have a question or a comment for myself or any of my guests, give us a call. The main show tonight is on the Aha Aloha Āina. Before we get to our main show, First Friday is happy to work with the Department of Agriculture and many environmental organizations and everyone on the Big Island to bring you this public service announcement and to ask for your help. Recently, several thousand people came to the Big Island to celebrate the Merry Monarch Festival. Many Hawaiians that live on the Big Island traveled to Hilo. But for all of those who came into Hilo, there was something that should have been discussed that wasn't. An action alert should have gone out about what we're calling ROD, Rapid Ohia Death. Back in 2010, a fungus showed up on the Big Island. In the last 5.5 years, it has destroyed nearly 35,000 acres of ohia forest. It's a significant threat to the ohia forest because 80% of the trees in the forest are ohia. Announcements and action alerts were put out, but they were not distributed at the time of the Merry Monarch. First Friday is asking all of those who came, especially those who were hula dancers who went up into the mountains to gather. You may be one of the people that is distributing the rapid ohia death fungus. Where is it? Well, you can't see it. But if you walked into the forest, if you went on a picnic, or if you purchased a lei po'o or other greenery while you were at the Merry Monarch, you could unknowingly have acquired that fungus. It's important that we try to stop the spread of it, not only on the Big Island, but between islands as well. There's very little ohia left on our neighbor islands. If this fungus should move there, we will lose the ohia, the little that we have left, and we're facing a major threat now for our forests. What can you do? Well, if you came up to the Big Island, whether you live there or you went home or not, there are some things you can do that are easy and cheap. Number one, buy some alcohol, isopropyl alcohol from a drugstore, take it home, dip your slippers, spray your shoes. If you had a backpack or a bag of any kind or a purse, spray it. That will kill the ROD fungus. If you have a lei po'o or a lei, do not save it. Burn it. If you have put it on your hat or on your altar, you need to spray those places with alcohol. If you don't want to do it or cannot do it, put your greenery and your lei po'o into a package and take it down to the Department of Agriculture, and they will take care of it for you. Let's help out the Big Island. Let's save one of the most unique and precious resources we have, our sacred ohia forests. If we all work together, we can do this. We don't need to lose any more of our acreage. Mahalo for helping us achieve this goal. It's really something important to every one of us that loves and lives on the Big Island. Tonight, we're going to be taking a look at a new movement that seems to be sweeping through our community, one that is causing a lot of excitement and anticipation. Let's welcome tonight our two guests. First Friday is happy to bring back educator Kahakalau. You were recently here just a few months ago to talk about education. Tonight you'll be talking about education on a different point, but welcome back to the show, Ku.
Aloha mai, I'm happy to be here. Mahalo.
Also joining us tonight for the first time, one of our Mauna protectors and also a Hawaiian educator who is coming on tonight to talk about the educational effort behind the Aha Aloha Āina, and that is Lākea Trask. Batty, welcome to the show, Lākea.
Aloha kako.
You know, it's interesting that we have both of you on because on our last show, we talked with you, Ku, 2 shows ago about Hawaiian education, how it had changed, how it was a different process and why Hawaiian language had been incorporated. Tonight you're back, but tonight we also have one of the younger ones who was actually a beneficiary of that educational change that you and others brought about so long ago. So tonight we have two educators talking about a topic that I think is very important and that I myself have decided that I will be working to support, and that is the Aha Aloha Āina. First, tell us a little bit about yourself, your family, why you got involved in this.
Well, my grandfather, William Keahonui Kahakalau, was living during this time, and so was my great-grandfather, Daniela Kino Kahakalau. He was actually a president of the Aha Aloha Āina of Kalihi. And so I think for myself, I'm really following in the footsteps of my kupuna as a Hawaiian to stand up for our rights as a people to design and control our own destiny. You know, all peoples around the world have a right to live according to our traditions, our values, and our practices. And so this is really a reflection of standing up for what we believe in and asserting our right that has already been given to us through the Declaration of Indigenous Rights to be Hawaiians in the 21st century.
Lākea, a little bit about your family. I know, but I know the viewing audience does not. And then your interest. What is your interest in the Aha Aloha Āina?
Well, we do share similar backgrounds and lineages, and therefore both of our kupuna signed the ku'e petitions, Fanny Wilmington as well as David Trask. So 2 islands, Maui and Kauai, and really an effort that brought all the islands together. And really in that same spirit, we're trying to push forward the Aha Aloha Āina on the same premise of Aloha Āina, of resisting forced assimilation and indoctrination and colonization, basically. And so my involvement has been in really just trying to organize our communities, behind a platform that includes everyone, that doesn't cherry pick the voices in our community, that is open to all. And that's really the foundation of where this AHA is coming from, and the foundation that we want to be a part of.
You know, I wanted to thank you too for bringing to us tonight a few of the slides and materials that are actually part of a larger educational effort. But I was struck when I took a look at the materials with your first slide here, because it had the faces of some friends that we dearly love, but it also had a historic backdrop to it. And I'm wondering now, as we're looking at the slide, what are we actually looking at here?
Well, part of the slide shows a meeting that happened in 1897 in Hilo, where the people got together and said, you know, we are not agreeing to this occupation by the United States, and we're going to do something because we love our land so much. We love our Aina of Hawaii, and we are not going to just stand by while somebody else takes it away from us. And so that was the first of these Aha Aloha Āina meetings that happened in 1897 in Hilo, and as a result, we also started our very first Aha Aloha Āina 21st century in Hilo. The next part of the slide actually shows the petition that Lākea talked about, that so many of our kupuna signed, that physically shows us they were against what happened at that time and would still be against what is happening today. And this was not just something that happened in 1897 and then it died, but really throughout history, the last 100 years, there have been kupuna that have stood very firmly behind the land. And on the bottom here, you see 4 of them that were very strong supporters of Hawaiian self-determination and that just passed recently, and so we wanted to honor them as well. One of them is Dr. Kikuni Blaze, the brilliant physician, but also very strong grassroots activist. Leandra Vai Rodriguez, who was part of the struggle from the Makua evictions. Puhipau Ahmad, who got into the movement through the Sand Island evictions, and with his company Namaka Āina really documented the grassroots struggles over the last 30 plus years. And then most recently passed Auntie Pele Hanoa, very strong member of Kalahui, very much from the very beginning gave all of us young people hope, because here were the kupuna standing up for sovereignty, standing up for self-determination.
When we think about the Aha Aloha Āina, it has this historic, it springs from our history, I think, and what you were saying, a history of resistance. But when we look at what we're doing today, how can we summarize what the goals of the initiative are?
So the Aha Aloha Āina has 4 main goals, and the first is to reaffirm our independence. As Ko Hawaii Pai Aina, the Kingdom of Hawaii, we know the true history of our people and the political history as well. So to reaffirm our independence is number 1, and by the way we do that is primarily through number 2, resisting and opposing Na'i Aupuni, the Na'i Aupuni initiative, which claims to be the representative voice of our people. And also number 3, rejecting the current DOI attempt to federally recognize Kanaka Maoli as a Native Hawaiian tribe, which is an ongoing fight and a long one coming, and then last but not least, to unite our people and collaboratively engage in revitalizing our nation.
You know, I wanted to talk a little bit about these goals that are up now, because we did previously, just last month, have a show with 2 guests who are very concerned with the Na'i Aupuni effort. The thing is that, I mean, for myself, I feel that the representation that's being made through Na'i Aupuni, and that was really supported by the mainstream media, was that somehow Na'i Aupuni is a movement of the Hawaiian peoples. It's reflective of the Hawaiian peoples. But if you really look at and follow the history, it was a huge media drive that was supported by the Civil Beat, by Star Bulletin, many articles saying Hawaiians should register, get on this roll, you will be part of a democratic elective. And then what really happened? The peoples in the roll were thrown out. There wasn't any election at all. They never used the rolls, although they spent between $4 and $5 million that we still haven't had accounted. But I think when we look at the relationship of Na'i Aupuni, it seems that there is a relationship to the Department of Interior rulemaking process. And I think you're seeing that in the goal. But what do you think about the interconnection between the Na'i Aupuni and the Department of Interior rulemaking?
Well, I would say that they're definitely connected, and that their drive is really something that is not being supported by the majority of Hawaiians. You know, when we testified in 2014 at the DOI meetings, I was in Keaukaha with my daughters, and 100%, 100% of the people who testified in Keaukaha on Hawaii Island were against anything that the DOE proposed and wanted independence for Hawaii. To me personally, I've been in this for a very long time. If you would have told me that 100% would be for it, I wouldn't have believed it myself. Yet I was there and I saw it. So if 100%, now this is a Hawaiian community, you know, but still yet, that type of passion, you know, to be who we are supposed to be who we culturally are, is something that's alive and well in our communities. And certainly this more recent movement, both on the DOI, their efforts, as well as Na'i Aupuni, is not reflective of any of the passion that is within our Hawaiian communities.
You know, one of the things that I mean, this just happened in 2014, but not only did it blow up at Keaukaha, but virtually every single community, every single island. And it started with the first hearing at the state Capitol building. But I think that the Department of Interior was really totally rejected, and now they're coming back for a second shot. This time, I believe they will be looking to recognize this Na'i Aupuni effort, which I don't think in any way can be legitimized, certainly not on democratic principles. But I wanted to also ask, there's been quite a bit of activity on the Aha Aloha Āina. I wanted to talk a little bit about how the Aha Aloha Āina concept is moving. I understand it's been on neighbor islands. There's been requests for the continent. So how is this progressing?
Well, it's really starting to take off. You know, I believe we're at 11 or 12 ahas that have already been completed, a handful of which happened on Hawaii Island, many here on Oahu, and also Maui and Molokai, and now extending over to Mokuhonu and connecting our brothers and sisters on the continental U.S. Through virtual ahas.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because we are going to be showing soon the contact information for the website. So get your pen and paper ready. I think one of the interesting things about this initiative, and we're seeing it more and more, is that we're moving now into utilizing technology. You know, it's a very interesting change for the Hawaiian community, which is, you know, a community that has always been stuck to the pen and paper. But now with virtual, we can share and teach outside of our state with all of our ohana on the continent.
And we're saving a lot of costs. So one of the things about the Aha Aloha Āina really is that so far we have wasted zero tax dollars, right? Nobody has been taxed to support this compared to the Na'i Aupuni and the other efforts that have really been millions and millions and millions of dollars wasted with very little to show for it.
You know, when you look at the Na'i Aupuni, it's primarily a political effort. Starts with the state legislature. Neil Abercrombie appoints the people who lead it up. They certainly weren't elected. But when we look at the Aha Aloha Āina, and we have a slide coming up that shows what the papa is. What is the foundation of the Aha Aloha Āina, and how does it differ from what we're seeing with the DOI effort?
Well, I think one of the things is that we're really grounded in Hawaiian values. You know, we believe in the value of aloha, and when you read the threats, outright threats that Na'i Aupuni made to all Hawaiians who were not going to sign up, you know, that is so contrary to our value of aloha. You know, excluding people from the process is so contrary to our value of aloha. So I think one of the big things about the Aha Aloha Āina is that we're grounded in Hawaiian values, with aloha being a foremost value, and also the concept of re-establishing pono. Pehe ala e pono ai. How can we be pono was our question from the beginning of time until now. You know, how can we re-establish pono? Pono really being everything that is good, that is righteous, that is ethical. And that is something that we stand for, and that is something that we are going to continue to immerse and infuse in all of our actions. The other part is that we're inclusive and really welcoming everybody who wants to contribute to be part of this revitalization of our nation. By creating a collaborative process rather than a, you know, exclusive, on the side, the doors are locked, you can't come in kind of a process.
Which was very much what happened with this Na'i Aupuni effort to allegedly write documents of governance. Nobody could get in. Kupunas were kicked out. Hawaiian voters and Hawaiian, Hawaiian participants in nationhood could not get in the door.
And not get in the door, they were arrested.
Right.
Yes, they were
arrested.
Yes, they were
trying
to get.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the thing is that, and one of the fellow from the Hawaii Tribune Herald pointed out to me that we weren't the only ones that weren't let in. None of the media people were allowed to get in at all, and they also were threatened with arrest. So, you know, they kept everybody out. It was an exclusive little group.
I think that's part of the problem, right? Where you have millions of dollars going into, you know, our money, our beneficiary monies, millions of dollars going into something that inclusive, that controlled, right? Where the media is being manipulated by those on the inside. You know, and all this money just to manufacture the consent and make it look like we're participating, we're hashing it out amongst each other, when really it was very inclusive and you know, just not pono, like Auntie Ku was saying, you know, and the Aha Aloha Āina is our way of reclaiming some of that pono, reclaiming some of that balance, because right now there's just too much going to that swing of the pendulum, so to speak.
You know, we were talking earlier, Lākea, about one of the, already we're beginning to see outcomes of this effort as it has moved around the islands. And one of those outcomes was the declaration, what people are calling the declaration. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about that declaration. How did it evolve? And what do you see? You know, I recently heard that the Papakolea Hawaiian Homestead Association also has adopted a declaration, but I understand that it is not the same declaration that has evolved. So, you know, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the declaration that has been forthcoming, and what is the purpose of it? What is it saying?
Well, the declaration is basically to reaffirm our independence and it's basically a mechanism for us to stand together, in solidarity, just on some of the most basic principles, right? The history, what happened to our people, what happened to our government, and who we are, So there are a few whereas clauses, but really it's just to reaffirm our self-determination and our right to independence and our right to be who we say we are.
You know, I think it's very important that we remind folks regularly that we didn't start out as a state. We were first an independent kingdom. And those, the wrongs that were done, the injuries that were done, America has apologized for them in 1993, but never corrected the injury. Even if you read the apology bill, it calls for reconciliation and justice in the future. It even says that the claims of our people are not being resolved. And that was in 1993. Here we are in 2016, and it is a good thing, I think, to declare and affirm what our roots were historically. But I was also glad to see here that there's a reaffirmation of our people's right to self-determination. You know, and that is bringing up international human rights law. I'm glad that we've moved forward with this, and I was actually interested when I heard this past week that the Papakolea Homestead Association asked for a workshop. Everyone came. They not only decided to support and join the AHA, but they drafted their own declaration. I thought it was interesting because they were moved themselves as a community to make their own declaration. It's really I'm hoping it's something we see in the future as well. There's no pressure for anyone to sign this declaration that we're speaking of, and other communities are already moving on their own to express their mana'o in their own way.
Yeah, this is really a community-based initiative, and it is an island-based initiative. You said earlier that neighbor islands are on board, but that's not at all how this thing is working. This thing is being started on the Hawaii island. So, you know, so that's the first part. You know, we're not the neighbor island that maybe get some crumbs once in a while if we're lucky kind of thing. You know, this is really an initiative that is being spearheaded by the grassroots movements on all the islands, with Oahu just being one island out of many islands kind of a thing, and really looking at a community base. So Hilo is Hilo, Waimea is Waimea, Kona is Kona, and the realities even on that, on one island are different, and Papakolea is certainly Papakolea. So it's really a community-based effort. How do we as Hawaiian communities design and control our own political reality, our own economic reality, our own social reality as far as education and programs, etc. is concerned. And so it's really, that is one part. The other part is that then once the communities are educated and have goals that they're working on for their specific communities, the next level is really an island level. And the very last level would be an archipelago kind of a level. So it's very, very different in that way, that we're really starting at the bottom in the communities, and this is a community-based effort, expanding to an island-wide effort, and then expanding to an archipelago-wide effort.
You know, there have been many different groups as this effort is growing that have come out to say that they officially want to announce that they are joining and they are supporting and endorsing, and I'm wondering if we can look at a few of them. I was happy to see that right off the bat we had two civic clubs, Kanaka Maoli, which is here in the state, and also Kai'ula Pono'i, Hawaiian Civic Club of Texas, came out early on saying that they were supporting. We have already mentioned the Papakolea Hawaiian Homestead Association, so we're seeing some what are generally considered to be the larger groups, community-based homestead association and civic clubs, coming forward now to publicly say that they're part of this. But who else is involved in this?
Well, we really have a very wide spectrum, you know, from more traditional organizations like the Order of Kamehameha. We mentioned Puhi Pau's company, Namako Āina. So basically more companies that are involved in the Hawaiian movement and in educating Hawaiians.
Yes, I see that. There's some companies and individuals coming on, but I see several companies are coming in.
Yes, so more and more, you know, whether you're, it doesn't matter whether you're a for-profit or a non-profit. We have Kua Kanaka LLC, which is a company that works on doing Hawaiian research and doing Hawaiian language programs. So you have that type of programs. You also have the Mauna Kea, you know, huis that came together. So it's really and the good thing is everybody can be part of this. So if you want to be an Aha Aloha Āina supporter, you don't have to spend any money. So this is not give us $500 and you can be a supporter, which happens so many times, right? So many times to support something you have to invest financially in whatever it is. We're saying if you agree with the philosophy of what we're doing here, which is really about Aloha Āina, that's the foundation. If you are part of that, you can become a supporter by simply sending us your name, and we will list you on our list of supporters.
You know, and there's even nonprofits. We talked about for-profit businesses being here, but Koane Foundation is a long-standing nonprofit Hawaiian community based from Kauai, and I think it's very significant that the Royal Order of Kamehameha, which stems from the time of our independence forward, has also added their name to the list, because the Royal Order, part of its mandate is to be ever vigilant and be a voice to remind and to seek the restoration of our right of self-governance. So very significant that the Royal Order has come in.
And they've actually done a formal endorsement saying that they do not support the Constitution or that, you know, the quote-unquote Constitution that was created by Aupuni, and that which we're calling NAG 88, you know, as a label kind of a thing, and formally, you know, standing up and confirming that this is not something that they can support.
You know, you just mentioned NAG 88. What does that stand for those who don't know?
I believe it stands for Aupuni Gated 88. So since, you know, they gated themselves in crafting this constitution, if you'd like to call it that, we took it upon ourselves to give it a more appropriate label. So the Aupuni Gated 88, NAG 88 for short, yeah. And
the 88 comes from the number of people that actually voted for this piece of paper.
Right.
So 88 people out of, you know,
577,000 officially reported in the U.S. Census Bureau. You know, 88. I don't see how it could possibly be said to be a fair or a democratic process. But, you know, out of this discussion about reforming and bringing back together the Hawaiian nation, there emerges now the image of it, an image that was taken from a book written many years ago by David Malo called Hawaiian Antiquities, and this is what people call the Kino. The body is what it means, but the graphic definitely shows how, in the traditional Hawaiian organizational sense, how the structure looked and where people fit in. And I'm wondering if you can just take a look at this and talk a little bit about it, because it looks like a petroglyph, but it really does have a traditional Hawaiian understanding to it that was put down by David Malo many years ago.
Right. So in just initiating these conversations, right, in our communities, a lot of time we have a hard time knowing where to start. Yeah, people who are just getting into the movement, getting into learning their history, the true political status of the islands. We don't really know where to start. Yeah, we don't know what group to go to, who's the kingdom, who's the king, who's the queen, who's the acting regent, and whatnot, right? So for us, it was important for us to go to a time before then, yeah, to go back to our traditional knowledge, to go back to the foundation of governance. And so that's how we came across the Kino, yeah, the civil body polity. And basically, this is the foundation for Hawaiian governance, yeah.
You know, when I look at this, and for all of those who are now looking at this graphic, people ask, where do I belong in this nation? When you look at something that is Western created, you have to ask that question because you really don't have a place traditionally where you can be. But when you look at this graphic, and everyone can find their place. I was surprised when I looked. I said, okay, I'm an attorney, I'm a lawyer, where do I fit in? And it is under Kalaimoku, number 2, which are political leaders, lawyers, politicians, and economists. Where do you fit? Where do the two of you fit?
Well, as educators, we are in the Kahuna group. And, initially that was a little bit hard because there's just this stigma, about the word kahuna. But when we look at it in the way that Malo describes it, really being the spiritual leaders, being the cultural leaders, being the experts in a certain field, it made sense that the educators would be within that group of the Kahuna group.
The Nakoa, I was very interested in how David Malo looked at that, because we tend to think of Nakoa literally, the warriors, the protectors. But in the Hawaiian traditional sense, there were others as well. Those who were resource managers, who tended the land, who looked after the waters. They were viewed as Nakoa in the broader sense of being a warrior. And also those who enforced the law, what was the appropriate way, and those who enforced it. But I think also number 5, Manawai, many people don't really think that there is a role within the governance structure for what we call communications, but there is a role there.
So that was actually a new addition. So traditionally, Malo did not have the Manovai in his Kino, in his civil body polity.
But there was a role for the one who spoke in behalf of the Ali'inui and the Mo'i. They did not themselves always give dictate or mandate.
Right.
There were those that, I guess, communicated, facilitated their communication right down even to the ahupua'a level.
And I think, the Manovai it's a sign of the times too. Yeah, we live in an information age, we live in the technology age. And the way we communicate, the way that we organize is, we utilize technology and communication in a much different way than our kupuna did. So the Manovai is, the word Manovai means the respiratory system, right? So that which brings the the vai or the koko to the kino, yeah, and pumps it and sustains it. So in that regard, we see the manovai being the communications that connects all the different body parts, yeah, the kalai moku, the kahuna, the nakoa, and the mahi and lawai'a, so that the kino can function, yeah, as one. And as we see, you know, it really transcends what we've listed here as well. Yeah, the nakoa being warriors, protectors, resource managers, but basically anyone who's got their boots on the ground, ready to protect our national interests. Yeah, and you know, the right foot and the left foot, you cannot have the right foot without the left foot. Yeah, just like Kamehameha before he went to battle, he had to plant all his sweet potato, he had to plant all his kalo, and so the mahi'ai and lawai'a, the left foot, is very important to the success of the right foot. Yeah, they go lockstep together.
Well, I think, you know, this is one area that you would never see in a Western, this is one segment you would never see in the Western concept of governance, because they don't really consider those that feed the people to be part of the government structure. And it's so interesting when you consider that in the Hawaiian structure, those who were the fishermen and those who were the planters played a critical part in the nation, and that was to feed the people. When that aspect is removed, you see now in all Western nations that there is strong government, but the people are hungry. There is not sufficient. There's significant poverty and there's significant hunger, even in the United States, the most powerful country in the world. But that was not the case in traditional times, because planters and fishermen had a place in the government. If you don't feed the people, there's certainly no reason to have a government. I wanted to ask you both about this concept of the Kino coming together as a structure, and how the mo'i would be viewed. Because the mo'i in the traditional times was the primary spokesperson in leadership. Now when you build a coalition, how do you view the mo'i? Would it be the primary government structure, like what we had in Kalahui? It was really, you know, the mokona, the legislature. But what is the role of the po'o?
Well, one of the things we have looked at as far as the Kino is really, the inclusive part. So, meaning every Hawaiian can find their place in this Kino and participate in the government and participate in revitalizing our government. So I think that's the first part, that it's really an open, inclusive model that allows everybody to come in. It's not just the people with money, it's not just the people with a degree, it's not just the people with connections, whatever it is, it's everybody is welcome to be part of it and to lend their mana and their expertise and their skills to this model. When we looked at it, you know, clearly there is a head, and the king was the head of that government. We really figured that at this point in time, we need to articulate first what the other parts are, and then have those other parts come together to work on the head part of it. There has been too much head work and not enough handwork in general in our movement, and we really felt that if the other parts are going to be strong, if the other parts know what they're doing and how they want to do things, then collectively we would then tackle the issue of that po'o. But at this point in time, we really wanted to get the groundwork and the hands-on things done first, and articulate those and find leaders in all of those areas that could articulate, you know, what is our Hawaiian system of education going to look like? You know, what is our Hawaiian system of health going to look like? What is our economic structure going to look like, coming all from the bottom? Because the hard part is, if you focus on the head is going to want to dictate everything else down the road, which is really not the model. You know, the model is really a bottom-up model.
You know, it's so interesting, because I think when you compare this traditional model with actually what has happened with the Na'i Aupuni, when you look at the Na'i Aupuni, there was a lot of talk about the role, bringing the people in. They flew all over the U.S., spent millions, made the role. The media was pushing for the Democratic election. But in the end, all of that was thrown out when the Supreme Court said you have to go to trial on this thing in the Ninth Circuit. They threw all the people out, and what was left was only the 88 heads.
Self-declared heads.
Yeah, yeah. There were 88 self-declared heads. But the way that the AHA is moving is less concerned with who is going to be the head with the power, more aimed at developing the different segments at the community level, including fishermen, attorneys, educators, and others. And then through that organizational effort, the structure itself will complete by determining how the body will be steered. And I think that's really right. It's really the Hawaiian way is more to sprout up from the Aina, ground up. But to the extent that that's the case, what is the kuleana of the Kino? How are we going to be moving that body? You know, the actual processes that there have been some, there have been several community meetings, and now they're saying that what is the kuleana of this effort going forward? How does that move? How does that evolve?
Well, I think you're hitting on a really important point, yeah, and that, you know, when I look at what Aupuni did, right, the way I see it, it's kind of like that's only one arm of the Kino, right? That's only the kalai moku, yeah. That's only people politicking, basically, right, amongst themselves, and so they exclude the rest of the Kino. They exclude the fishermen and the lavaia. They exclude the people who protect the national interests. They exclude our educators, some of our most brilliant minds and leaders in our communities, and so, you know, the flaw in that is that, you know, you only one arm, yeah, and your arm can only be as strong as the rest of your Kino is in the end. So you know, our approach really was a grassroots bottom-up approach, and to strengthen the entirety of the Lahui and not always focus and dump all this funds and all this attention and all this hysteria into what basically amounts to one limb, yeah.
You know, one of the interesting things when I was preparing for the show and, you know, saw some of the graphics, and we had actually talked about this. This was about maybe 6 months ago when we had Kumu Hinale Moana Wangkalu on our show, and she talked about the fact that there needed to have been community-based education. That was the Hawaiian way. It's so interesting to see in the traditional model where the educators are. And also what actually occurred in the process of the Aupuni. The Hawaiian Education Council came forward twice with grants to OHA, saying we can help. We can be the educators to go out, work with the community to help you build the consensus. Both of their requests were completely shelved. The trustees never even saw or discussed them, and they went ahead without community-based education, trying to supplement it instead for a multi-million-dollar media campaign, which really didn't work out very well.
So basically when we have an Aha Aloha Āina, the first thing we do is we set the historic context. We explain why we are where we're at, and we try to do that very briefly today. And then it's really about breaking into these various body parts so that we can build relations among the various experts, and then working within those body parts to get agreement over what do we want to do. So for example, for my kuleana is kahuna. So I have every other week we meet virtually to talk about, you know, some of our goals, to talk about how we can communicate with others and share what we're learning, and keeping records of the things that we have. And so basically it's an Aha Aloha Āina in your community. You break down into the body parts, you work within your body parts for the next 6 months, then the AHA reconvenes again and you share where you're at. So it's really a very hands-on, moving forward these all these various aspects, whether it's economics, and that could be not just working the land, but also other kind of economics. It's on politics, which is the minor compared to the other ones. It's on education. It's in all these different areas, technology, and then we work together, and then we come back together and see where we're at. Then we go back out again. So it's that in, out, continuous moving forward and progress.
Right.
Now, one of the things that we wanted to look at is what can people do. We've seen that there have been many workshops and sessions, especially the Big Island, and I think it was so appropriate to have that first photo, because many people don't know that the first gathering to oppose the annexation was in Hilo on the Big Island, and that is really the birthplace of the Aha Aloha Āina, so it really is historical. But when you tell people it's time to get involved, to get active, what can people do, and who did they contact? We have a graphic on this, we mentioned it earlier. You have a website, but what do people do out there that are interested in finding out more or getting involved? What can they do?
Well, like Auntie Ku said, from these Aha Aloha Āina meetings, we've had breakouts and more groups. Yeah, this is kind of just the meeting place for, it's almost like a think tank. Where our people can come together, build these relations, and start making these connections so that we can help each other. So if you haven't attended an Aha Aloha Āina, I'd encourage you all to attend one and maybe ask for one in your community. And we'll come, or we'll find the right people to come and be there, no matter how far.
Now, right now, we have an Aha Aloha Āina group that is here on the island of Oahu. We actually have had many on the Big Island. Do we have a Aha Aloha Āina group that can come out to do workshops on the island of Maui or Kauai? I know that there was one workshop on Molokai.
There was already workshops both on Molokai and on Maui. And Kauai has always been its own little kingdom. So they are having discussions. They are not calling them Aha Aloha Āina, but there are actually people there that are moving. And Mililani, as I mentioned earlier, it's not about people from Oahu going to other islands. It's really about those islands bringing forth their best and malabing their own kuleana, basically taking care of their responsibility. And the same goes for the continent. So when we've had our AHA there, what we do is we do what is called a Zoom. It's a virtual meeting where we present the historic context and give them a framework. And then whoever gathers, wherever it is that they're gathering, and we've had one in Utah, we have one scheduled for San Diego, so there's different ones that are happening along the way. Then the people there get together and they form their own kahuna group and their own kalaimoko group and their own nakoa group, and then they work on organizing themselves and moving forward in what works for their community, wherever that community is. So we're just the facilitators that give the historic context.
I'm not sure that I understand what you said about the Zoom. The Zoom is a way that folks that are here can assist those that are on the continent or elsewhere with a little bit of information with that. But you really rely upon those who receive it to form the body themselves, the body there in their community.
Correct. So this is basically just a software that we use that allows us to do virtual conferencing where people can see each other, where they can see the documents, where they can talk, where we can talk to each other. It's the way that we've also organizing across the islands and beyond to meet as the core group to kind of strategize as where we're going. That way we don't have to fly to another island. We don't even have to leave our living room. We can be right there, no matter what island we're from and what community we're from, and we continue. So anybody who wants to be in that core group and be part of that leadership team is welcome to join that discussion and move forward. And so we're using this technology, this virtual communication, both to move forward as a core group and keeping the big picture together, but also to send information to other places where we cannot go physically.
Now you have your website address, if someone wants to have a Zoom session, or they want to get some help to put together a workshop on the AHA, you know, is this on the website?
There would be a contact information there that they can contact. The other part is that Facebook has been a huge, social media basically has been a huge driver for the Mauna Kea initiative for sure, but also here for the Aha Aloha Āina. So each of the Kino parts, so if you're on Facebook, you can go to the regular Aha Aloha Āina Facebook group and participate there. And then each of the Kino, so the Kahuna has a separate Facebook page where you can find out when the next meetings for the Kahuna, which are virtual meetings as well, when they are, so you can dial in from a phone or from a computer and be part of those discussions. So in addition to the website, if you are on Facebook, go to the Facebook Aha Aloha Āina and or look for the specific Facebook Aha Aloha Āina Kino and then Kahuna or Mahi'ai and Lawai'au, whichever ones they are, and you can join the discussion right there and then.
You know, I understand that some of the folks have just actually taken the graphic, like the Kino graphic. People are actually putting it on their Facebook and starting discussions with their families and their friends, because Facebook is really kind of a personal group. But they're actually taking some of the materials and the graphics, posting it, and talking about it with their family and already with their group. Is there anything wrong with using materials on the website? Do we have any intellectual property or copyright issues here?
You might have to ask who publishes Hawaiian Antiquities.
David Malo.
But no, that's the great thing about this Kino concept, right? Is that you know, the Kinos are formulating again on each island, but that doesn't mean there's only one Kino on one island as well. Yeah, each moku, each district could have their own Kino, and you could actually apply this concept into your own organization as a guideline, yeah, as a template really to plug back into. So when we got enough Kinos out there, yeah, then we become Lahui. Then we can stand as a Lahui.
I think that I wanted to show that graphic one more time with the website, but my sense is that if we go there, will we find these workshop materials there? Some of these graphics that you have had?
Yes.
And we can also ask if there can be some assistance.
Yeah. So you'll find the declaration that you can sign then and support. You can sign up to become a supporter there. You can find out about the upcoming events, and then it will also lead you to the various Facebook groups. So the way we look at it in Indigenous education, we're calling it copyleft instead of copyright, which means there is no copyright. It's copyleft, and everybody is welcome to use whatever they need to move us forward. Because it's really about moving forward in this concept of being pono, of doing the right thing at the right time for the right reason, which is really important that it's the right reason that we're doing this, which is for the betterment of our Aina and for the betterment of our Lahui.
And really, this is the legacy that our kupuna left for us with the ku'e petitions and with all the Aloha Āina work throughout the years. And, you know, and we get kind of lost in this back and forth fighting over the politics of this organization or this initiative. And so really, you know, we're trying to find our mo'okuauhau and tie right back into that mo'okuauhau again. And it's on these kind of values, it's on these kind of principles, and it doesn't exclude anybody.
Well, I'm happy to announce that there is an ongoing discussion. It started a couple of months ago among the Kalahui Hawaii leadership. Kalahui Hawaii now considers this. Some points have come up in terms of, will we dedicate ourselves to peace and disarmament in our quest to achieve some independence and self-determination. But the fact that we have that discussion going, I think, speaks very well. And I'm very uplifted to see that those who supported this Aha Aloha Āina on Molokai included many of the Kalahui Hawaii citizens, and certainly that's the case on Big Island. We come to the end of our show now with just a few minutes left. I wanted to ask both of you as you close a brief statement. Why are you involved in the Aha Aloha Āina? Why are you involved in it?
I don't think I have a choice. This is what my kupuna expects of me. And the more we learn about our history, the more we learn of what our kupuna stood for, who we are, where we come from, what kind of government we come from, and what kind of government we are capable of. This is why we're moving forward with the Aha Aloha Āina. It's because, number one, it's about Aloha Āina, and it's about getting back to the Aina and caring for it in a way that we've neglected in some respects over the years, and we've lost our ways. So we're just turning the light back on and hoping everybody comes to the Pa'ina.
Well, there sounds like they are welcome.
Yes.
Ku, why are
Yes,
you
they
involved?
are. Our kupuna told us, "Malama I ko kuleana," take care of your responsibility, and that's as simple as it is. That's what I'm doing. Is I'm taking care of my responsibility as a Hawaiian to Aloha the Aina, because that is part of that kuleana, and it's really about Aloha Aina, about Aloha Kanaka, and Aloha Akua. That is what is pono. That's what our kupuna, that's the standard they set for a Kanaka pono, is somebody who alohas the Aina, who alohas the Kanaka, the people, and who alohas Akua, the spiritual world. And that is my kuleana as a Hawaiian. And as taking on that responsibility, I need to do what I need to do, and that is at this point supporting the Aha Aloha Āina, because I see that this is our pathway, our ma'ave to pono.
I think for myself, one thing that is so exciting is that we now have the positive initiative. We have to ku'e what is wrong, and whether that's na'i Aupuni or kana'i olovalu, to condemn it, to expose it. But Hawaiians are best when they're building, when they're working collectively, when they're doing something that is positive. And the Aha Aloha Āina gives us not only that opportunity to move forward, but it gives us something that is actually standing already on a very strong papa that is a cultural base, the Kino role for everyone to be there and not leaving out critical ones that are close to the Aina, like those that feed our people, those that are not only the teachers, but those that are the fishermen, those that are the farmers, for all to come together. I think that it's a very positive initiative, and I'm looking forward to continuing the discussion that we have started within Kalahui. I'm very happy to see that this is moving, and I congratulate you folks and also those that are moving it forward. And let's see where it goes on the U.S. continent, as I understand that there's quite a bit of interest up there as well. In the future, I think we'll probably have to invite others back to come and give us an update.
Right.
I think that it's something that's going to be on our agenda for quite a while. In any event, thanks for coming. Remember, you heard it first on the First Friday show. Good night.
Aloha Āina.
What is a true Hawaiian? Aloha. Tell me what's a true Hawaiian? Can you conceive the concept created in my brain? Apologies accepted, but the grudge remains as I strain to ease the pain that my people feel, while other people say it's no big deal. Charge one, grand larceny. Uncle Sam better wash his hands because they're filthy. He did the dirty deed, can't you see it's hurting me? So I live my life day by day, keep asserting myself, so that I may reach my full potential. Thanks and praise is not essential, and so thank God for making me what I am, cause I'm a true Hawaiian. What's a true Hawaiian?